I find that out of the four things that leaders do, which is speak, ask, listen, acknowledge, and appreciate, the weakest link is listening. So the effectiveness of any chain is equal to the strength of its weakest link. So you are as effective as a leader as your weakest link. My recommendation to you is that for the next 1 month, just take on for yourself that, hey, you know what? My weakest link is listening, and I'm going to be in training and developing myself in listening, and all the work that we're going to do in this video and the assignment that I have for you in the PDF will help you to create a breakthrough. And when you create a breakthrough in your weakest link, automatically there is a surge. There's automatically your effectiveness goes up, your throughput goes up, and the people around you start experiencing you as a trusted leader. That's a leader that they want to follow because you started listening now. The first deadly filter of listening is already, always. Now, the moment somebody starts speaking with you, in a few sentences, you already know what they're going to say. And it's always the same. So the moment you get that sense that is already something that you know and is always the same, you stop listening. And you go away somewhere, and then mid-flow, the person is speaking and you launch off. That destroys the safe space for the person that you're communicating with to offer you that nugget of information or opinion or idea or objection that would help you to trim your strategy or your tactic to make your organization move forward effortlessly, which costs you your effectiveness as a leader. So already always listening is the first deadly filter. And the way you work with this is you keep noticing in conversations, so you have a conversation, you're driving back, think, was that filter on for you? And if you found evidence, you can just declare it, that's it. The moment you just acknowledge it to yourself, slowly, you'll start winning the war over this already always filter, and you'll start accessing pure listening. That's going to have a magical impact on your effectiveness as a leader. The second deadly filter is the senior-junior act. The moment you start speaking with somebody, you already know whether that person, is he your senior or is he your junior? And the moment that recognition comes into your mind space, usually an act gets launched. So in the presence of a junior, you get into a senior act. And the moment you get into a senior act, you're forcing the other person to somehow either get into the junior act or to resist it. In either way, the safe space that's required for them to share, to offer you the information that they've come to offer you, that space gets destroyed. And that's costing you. It's costing you in your leadership and your effectiveness. So if you find evidence of your senior and junior act with people, call it, say it, acknowledge it to yourself. And every time you acknowledge it, the grip and the power that act has on you will start to reduce, and your effectiveness as a leader will go up, because in your space, people will feel comfortable to offer their thoughts, their ideas, their opinions, their objections, which will then help you to lead your organization more effectively. The third deadly filter of listening is being an expert. Now, you spend a lot of time, effort, energy in acquiring the expertise that you have. So when somebody comes to speak to you inside of the domain of your expertise, you start getting onto that expert pedestal. The moment you get into the expert pedestal, there is a certain divide, a certain gap that starts showing up between you and the person that you're communicating with. And they sense it. And the moment they start sensing it, even subconsciously, it starts impacting their freedom to speak to you in a way in which you can get the information, the vital information, the subtle information that's going to have a huge impact on your leadership. So you start noticing in conversations wherever that expert shows up. And you say, you know what, I was being an expert that time, and I was being an expert that time. And you keep noticing it and calling it, and slowly, over a period of time, your pedestal will start to shrink. And slowly a time will come where you're no longer standing on that pedestal called being an expert, and people will be able to talk to you peer to peer, which is the only place where you can get the information that you need, which has an impact on your leadership and increases your effectiveness to produce results for your organization effortlessly. The fourth deadly filter of listening is judging. The moment somebody starts speaking, all of us seem to pull out a damn thermometer which we have somewhere stuck, and we start looking at the thermometer and saying, is that good? Is that bad? Is that right? Is that wrong? And based on whatever we see the thermometer telling us, we start moving away from the conversation to whatever we judged. And that creates a huge gap between where you are now, somewhere lost in that judgment of is that right or wrong or good or bad, and what the person is speaking. And that distance, they feel it, they sense it, that you're no longer available in that conversation. You're going like this, And that subtle message goes through to them. That kind of starts shrinking the space. They no longer have the freedom to express to you, to share with you their insights. And that insight can be crucial. Now, if you start noticing that this is one thing that keeps coming up for you all the time, that you're judging right, wrong, good, bad, right, wrong, good, bad. Then you say, hey, you know what? I was judging that time. That conversation I was judging. And the more you acknowledge it, the more you start getting freedom from judging. The other element is the person has already spoken to you. You listen, you absorb everything, then take out your thermometer. So you can do this sequentially instead of trying to do it parallelly. Parallel doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So if you are doing anything parallelly, it's taking you away from listening, and it's costing you in your leadership, in your effectiveness. So start working on finding freedom for yourself from each of these filters, including judging. The fifth deadly filter of listening is looking good. You're in a conversation, it's just begun, and you find yourself either physically or mentally noticing on what stance do you need to take, how do you need to stand, what do you need to think, what do you need to say, what kind of cues you need to give which will make you look good. In other words, you start getting consumed by the need to look good. And if you're consumed by the need to look good, the extent to which you're consumed by that, to that extent you're not listening. Your energy is getting divided. And if your energy is getting divided, you are missing some crucial information, some nuance of the information, the way he's saying it, the tonal quality, the emphasis, and connecting the dots. And if that's what's happening, it's costing you. It's costing your effectiveness as a leader. So if you find that looking good is something that is operational for you, many times in conversations, just by noticing and acknowledging it to yourself, you start to reduce, creating the space for you to listen. And as you start listening and listening and listening, it's going to have a huge impact on your leadership effectiveness. So the sixth deadly filter of listening is interpreting. The moment people start speaking, in our mind, this word means starts popping up. He's saying something and you say, but that means this. Or does that mean that? And you're kind of getting lost in mean this, mean that, mean this, mean that. It's all interpretation. Now, if you are trying to listen and interpret at the same time, it doesn't work very well, because the extent to which you're busy, your processor is busy interpreting, to that extent, it's not giving sufficient energy to listen. If it's not giving sufficient energy to listen, you're missing some key crucial information that is being presented to you, because you're lost somewhere. And he said something, and you're kind of It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Doing anything parallelly doesn't work. Let this rest. Give your full attention to listening. Absorb everything that's being said. Process it. Then if you need to, activate your interpretation to find out what does that mean. But you can do this one step at a time, not together. Now, the moment you find freedom from yourself, from interpreting, you will naturally be in a space to listen, get the information that you need, which then impacts your leadership. It impacts your effectiveness because you can start trimming your sails and taking all those movements in your strategy, in your tactics to move things forward. So get freedom from interpreting by asking yourself a question: am I busy interpreting? Am I busy trying to figure out what does this mean? And then switch it off. The seventh deadly filter of listening is opinions. In World War II, they devised these self-guiding rockets. Every time an enemy plane came into range, they would launch these heat-sensing, self-guiding missiles that would go and find the plane and they would just destroy the plane. So every time anything that comes close to any of your opinions, they self-launch like those rockets and they're all over the place. And suddenly you find that instead of listening, all your opinions are up in the air. And when your opinions are up in the air, people sense it that you're not listening. Now you've gone away into your opinions, and now there's a wall. There's a kind of a barrier. Now how can they communicate to you when you are surrounded by your opinions? So we have a sea of opinions that self-launch. And you know and I know our opinions don't really matter. But no, it's my opinion. I got it, it's your opinion. Save it. Listen. Listen. Put the opinion down. Put it at bay. It's like saying that you've got these very wild, very ferocious Doberman dogs. A good strategy is when a guest comes, tie up the dogs or make them behave or lock them up. What's the point of putting the dogs onto your friends and they're going, ah, they're barking all the time? It drowns them. Whatever they're saying, you can't listen. And they don't want to be in that space with you. Deactivate your opinions and listen. And the more you listen, the more your effectiveness as a leader starts to show up. So we've now covered the 7 deadly filters that impact your listening. There is a PDF that I've created for you. Download it, study it, and go through the exercise and take on that assignment for 1 month. And my wish for you is that as you work with it, you start creating a huge breakthrough in your listening. The moment you create a breakthrough in your listening, you'll suddenly find that you will start receiving a lot of key information which otherwise was getting filtered out. And that key information has a direct impact on your ability to lead, in your ability to create the results that you want, and people feel more comfortable talking to you. I mean, basically it's not rocket science. You got to apply yourself. And the moment you apply yourself, you'll get the result.